Good evening. It is Tuesday, October 15th, 2024, and coming to you from Lonely Tree Media headquarters in Tacoma, Washington. This is the Best Lamm Sports Show. I'm your host, David Lamm. With me is my son, Parker. Say hello, Parker.
Hello, Parker.
All right. Big weekend in sports, football especially. I mean, we're going to talk a lot of football, so there's a lot of that to be said. Let's just dive right in. And you're working on a trivia question?
I am working on trivia question.
Okay.
I'll have it by the end.
Okay, good. You're working on it behind the scenes. Perfect. Here we go. Let's just dig right in. We're going to start with college because that's what we're doing. And much like the last episode, this is how it's going to work. So, if you watched college football Friday night, Big 12 matchup, Arizona State and Utah. Cam Rising's hurt again, by the way. Cam Rising is hurt again. He is out, I think, for the season, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, I thought I saw things saying he'd come back.
Oh, maybe
come back fairly soon.
Oh, I thought I read something that said he was out, but
Oh yeah, no, it says he was out. Yeah, I just see it
out for the year.
But they're going to consider his 8th year.
Jeez,
do not do it.
Yeah, don't. He doesn't. He's been hurt 2 of the years, I think, already, right?
The last 2 years in a row, he's missed significant time. Don't do this to yourself.
And he's already played what, 6 games, 5 games? Well, I guess he missed one of these games too. I don't know.
He might
have only played 4. Jeez,
yeah.
Louise, this is stupid. Anyway, but if you watched Arizona State, maybe you got to fear the fork. I don't know. It's 27-19 win in Tempe, and Arizona State's 5-1, 2-1 in the conference, right? With a win over Utah. Utah now 1-2, was one of the favorites for the Big 12 title. Now, not so sure because we're going to have a backup quarterback the rest of the year. They don't look dominant defensively like I would think they would. I guess that's kind of where I'm at.
Like they have in the past.
Right, like they have in the past. And Arizona.
Like they have in the past. That's, yeah.
Arizona's Cam Scat. They call him Scataboo. It looks like Bo to me. I don't know. It's just spelled like Bo, but it says Scataboo.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
156 yards and 2 touchdowns there. That's not a Utah thing normally. Utah is pretty stingy. But seemed like Arizona State kind of had their number all game long. And look, the scoring's even. I mean, it was an even thing. It's just that Arizona State was scoring touchdowns and Utah was scoring field goals there. That's the difference in the game. But kind of a big deal. I mean, for the Big 12, we'll talk about standings here in a little bit. But that led us into Saturday, right? And, of course, we had to sit through the Red River rivalry, which ended up being a gigantic dud. Texas 34-3.
Waste of everyone's time.
Everyone's time. Texas, it was slow to start out with. I mean, it was, 7-3 about halfway through the second quarter. And then it got ugly. So Oklahoma just looked miserable offensively for, the whole game. Well, to be fair. Oklahoma's schedule don't get any easier either. And neither does Texas's for that one. Texas plays Georgia next week. So that could be exciting.
Yeah.
We had to sit through the Penn State USC game. I'm still angry about the Penn State USC game and the referees, the non-calls, in USC in overtime ran 4 plays, right? 2 of them were pass interference by Penn State that everyone acknowledges were pass interference, and they didn't call either one of them. And they ended up missing a field goal on their overtime possession. So Penn State just kind of ran 3 cheesy plays and kicked a field goal and win, which is smart. That's what I would have done. But it was a gigantic comeback for Penn State, right? In the second half, because they were down 20-6 at the half. And then they ended up coming back to tie it up. And I don't know why teams have such a hard time finishing. That seems like that is the hardest thing in college football, to finish a game when you have a big lead.
It does seem lately like that's the problem. If you have a large lead, it's in trouble.
Yeah, see Alabama, Georgia, which Alabama ended up winning, but they didn't just close it out. You know what I mean? USC, Penn State, those kind of games. When you get a big lead, you got to be able to finish. Speaking of Georgia won 41-31 over a 1-5 Mississippi State team. I wasn't super impressed with Georgia's defense against the Mississippi State team that's really not that good. Carson Beck, though, 459 yards and 3 touchdowns. That was pretty good. I mean, he's a good quarterback. I'll admit it. But it is Mississippi State. So I don't know if you saw any of that game, but that was on the SEC network, I think. It wasn't even on regular TV. I say
I saw a little bit of it because I had like a multi-channel thing going, but it's honestly that time of day it was not my focus.
no, and then it wouldn't have been.
Yeah,
Alabama struggled with South Carolina. A couple teams have struggled with South Carolina, but Alabama really struggled. Needs some help. Needs some touchdown late there to win that game. Um, I I'm not sold that Alabama. Everybody's like, oh, they bounced back and blah 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 blah. Bounce back would be beating beating them. I mean, coming out and just beating them, but they didn't do that. They had to come from behind, down 19-14, right? So
yeah.
I don't know. So and then they had to recover an onside kick to to seal the game. I don't think that's exactly the kind of bounce back you were expecting from South Carolina. Um, I don't know. I don't or from Alabama. I'm sorry. I Jalen Milrow throwing the football, was, one touchdown, two interceptions, 209 yards. Meh. Their rushing game, everything about it just seemed wonky. They just didn't seem like Alabama was fully into it either. Alabama rushed for 104 yards. I mean, really?
Jeez.
Yeah, that's quarterback and everything. That's kind of weird. It was, South Carolina had time of possession. South Carolina had more first down. South Carolina was better on third down. Well, about the same, I guess. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, but total yards. South Carolina had more total yards, more yards passing, more yards rushing. Everything looks like, less penalties. They turned the ball over 4 times. If South Carolina doesn't turn the ball over 4 times, they win this football game. And so you can say what you want about Alabama being 5-1 and they bounce back. This did not look good for an Alabama team. They did not look good in this
South
game.
Carolina gave that game away with some wonky play calling at the end of it. They did not stick to their guns and what had gotten them all the way through the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
They changed things up a little bit and it cost them. Vanderbilt was still running their offense late in the game against
Yeah.
Alabama. They were not backing down. They were all gas. Old or not Ole Miss, South Carolina backed down and tried to just play conservative to win the game. And when you play to win, you lose.
When you play to hold on, yeah. Um,
When you play not to lose, you lose.
Tennessee struggled with Florida. Took overtime to win.
Tennessee's had a struggling offense the last 2 weeks.
They have, but they got it done. I guess that's the big thing, right? They get it done, but
Yeah.
it wasn't pretty. Um, Ole Miss got beat by LSU. I'm not sure there's a whole lot of distinction between those two football teams. That one was in overtime
Three
too.
3-point game, yeah,
And
late. It's
I I
tough.
I watched a lot of that game, and it didn't. I didn't. I can't. You can't tell me LSU is better than Ole Miss. You can't tell
Right.
me Ole Miss is better than LSU. I mean, I don't think either one of them are great. I think that they were both kind of overrated to start the season. Um,
Agreed.
and now LSU's 5-1, and everyone's going to give them credit because they're unbeaten in the SEC. But yeah, you got some games coming, LSU. LSU schedule is going to get significantly harder. Clemson might be the team to watch out for, although they are beating up on ACC teams, and I get it, but they seem to be putting up offensive points.
They've kind of figured out the things that were slowing them down.
Yeah, so now at 5-1, they look like a top 10, 15 team. They're scoring points against teams they should score points against, beating them pretty easily. That's how you have to do it. And then I know Stanford was ahead of this game 7-0, ahead of Notre Dame. When I tuned in, it was 7-0 Stanford, and then 49 points later, Notre Dame had a pretty easy win. But again, this is a non-conference. This is one of those ACC affiliated games, right? Stanford and
Because
Notre
of
Dame,
Notre Dame, yeah.
in an ACC affiliated game just doesn't sound right. I don't know. I don't think Notre Dame's great. I think that they're gonna continue to feast on these teams. Let's look at the schedule. So I don't know what they have left. Georgia Tech, who's actually pretty good,
Yeah.
a ranked Navy team, a 1 or 2-4, or what's Florida State now? 1-5, 2-4. I don't know.
Yeah.
Virginia, a ranked Army team, and then USC, who's struggling. So this is a fairly easy schedule to me.
Yeah, but their signature wins are, you know, A&M, which you say what you want about A&M, but we always think they're overrated.
Yeah,
A 7-point win at home versus Louisville.
yeah.
I just don't see anything that
There's nothing that
They're
jumps out at you.
spanking teams. They're spanking teams. They should. Oh, yeah, they beat the crap out of a terrible Purdue team, and they beat the crap out of a terrible Miami of Ohio team, and they beat the crap out of a terrible Stanford team.
Yeah,
But every time they play a good team, it don't look quite as convincing.
it isn't. Yeah, it's definitely. We can say whatever we want, but Texas A&M is also in first place in the Big 12. Um,
Yeah.
in the Big Ten or in the SEC. Sorry, I got them on the wrong conference. So. And then you got what Iowa State and West Virginia. Everybody was kind of picking on the West Virginia bandwagon, like they were going to somehow do something because they've been playing better. Iowa State kind of handled their business. Um, Went out and kind of won this
Close
game.
game,
Iowa State's a
but
good.
it's a good road win.
It's a good football. Yeah, anytime you get a road win in conference, that's. I mean, Iowa State's a good team. If I had to bet, I would say them or BYU or them and BYU in the conference championship game. That's probably safe because BYU bombed Arizona. It started out a little rocky, but they just bombed them. I, BYU's I don't know. I need more. I need a bigger sample size because again, they beat Kansas State pretty easily, right? They beat Arizona.
Yeah.
I thought those teams were pretty good, but the rest of the games are Baylor, Wyoming, SMU, Southern Illinois. That's not gonna do it for me. But there's no ranked teams on their schedule now. They have no,
Yeah.
They're not going to play a single ranked team unless Arizona State gets ranked at some point, or somehow Utah bounces back because Oklahoma State this week is not going to be a ranked team. So anyway,
Right.
I don't know. I'm not sold on BYU. I think they're going to skate through a pretty easy schedule, and
Yeah.
then they're going to play Iowa State. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
And then they're gonna get locked into that. What's it called? That one of those. Oh my gosh, at large bids probably.
Yeah.
If they keep winning, they'll definitely snag an at large bid. And like even if they lose to Iowa State, as long as it's not like a 70 or what's it called? Even if they, well, I guess sorry, not if it was Iowa State. Oklahoma State's probably their next best team. Maybe Utah figures out their defense, but I don't know. Either way, bottom line is that they should skip, and then they'll get ranked.
And they'll get ranked.
Then they'll get a spot, and then they'll get crushed by a good team.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Happens every year to the Power 5 teams.
Boise
non-Power 5.
Boise State goes to Hawaii and wins 28-7. That's a tough road trip just in general. Just gonna say that right off top because of the travel and the whatnot and the time difference but they used a couple of fourth quarter touchdowns to kind of make this one look a little more one sided. But Ashton Genty, 31 carries, 217 yards. It's his fourth 200-yard game of the season, and he's on pace to break Barry Sanders' record for yardage in a season. I don't know that he'll do it, but the opponents are not great. You know what I mean? That's Mountain West opponents, so he's got a pretty good chance, I think.
He's well on his way.
And the more they win, the better Oregon looks. This looks like a great win for Oregon.
It's true because at the time this looked like a terrible.
Yeah.
Like, Oregon shouldn't be Boise State.
Right.
Like, Heisman Trophy winner Ashton Genty. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely different. Kansas State with a 31-28 win over Colorado. Travis Hunter left the game. Colorado lost 3 wide receivers in this game. They had 3 injured wide receivers.
Dang.
Yeah, so I mean, but when I sit here and I look at the stats when I watch Colorado play. This is one of those things where if you look at the box score here, you're going to see Shedeur Sanders throwing the ball 40 times, 380 yards, 3 touchdowns, interceptions. Okay, great. They ran the ball 19 times, but 9 of the carries some of those are sacks on Shedeur Sanders. Yeah,
they ran the ball 10 times.
Their running backs ran the ball 10 times for 21 yards. They're not going to run the football, so just play them that way. You know,
yeah.
You there's no reason. I know they got playmakers at wide receiver. I get it. Omarion Miller and LeJohntay Wester and Travis Hunter are fast. Jimmy Horn Jr. Those guys are all fast. I get it, and it's hard to keep up with them. But if you had 8 defensive backs back there, and just don't necessarily rush hard, but contain with your 3 down linemen, every once in a while you blitz with a linebacker, you just got to be away. I don't know. Maybe it's just me.
If you can get 4-person pressure, it'll all break down. You just have to cover crossing routes. Cover crossing routes and occasionally watch for deep shots.
The longer the play goes, the better chance they have of one of those wide receivers breaking open, because they're fast and they're quick and they make moves and they're smart. They get open. If you can get to the quarterback quickly, that's the secret, right? You get him and you flush him and you got to get him down. You can't just let him get out. You can't just flush him out of the pocket. You've got to be able to make contact with him.
He has been running better this year is the problem.
Yeah, it's true. Although in this game, not so much. He did have a 13-yard run, the longest of the game for Colorado. Um, I don't know. But they're now what 4-2, right? 2-1, and so
Yeah,
if you're looking at playoff team, I don't think that Colorado's it. Um, Definitely, you could say what you want about an at-large. They'd have to win out from here for me to be
right.
considered a playoff team, and that's going to be their schedule's not difficult. But any of these teams in Arizona, Cincinnati, Texas Tech, Utah, Oklahoma State, Kansas kind of suffering this year, but all those teams are capable of beating them. That they're capable of beating all
Yeah.
those teams too. So I don't know exactly what's going to happen, but they're talking about Travis Hunter coming back next week. But I mean,
What I
I don't know.
what I think is telling, and this is a real easy thing for anybody to do, which is you go to ESPN, you go to the quarterbacks, and you're going to see that when they pull up the stats for quarterbacks for college football, Shadur Sanders is listed right there because he has 22 or 2,000 yards passing.
Yeah,
He's listed fourth. You click on complete leaders, and then you can look at kind of the whole picture, and then you click on rating and sort it.
yeah,
And he drops to 17th when you click on rating.
yep,
Or sorry, he drops not to 17th. He's even farther down the list. He's like 20 something down the list. Dylan Gabriel's ahead of him. Will Howard's ahead of him. Jackson Dart, Cam Moore, Jalen Milroe, Arch Manning. You see all these guys ahead of him. You start going, oh, okay. These are the guys on better teams,
right,
and they have better ratings,
yep,
and they're doing all that stuff. But then you try and sort it again by completion percentage. He flies back up to the top. Attempts, he flies up to the top.
right,
That sort of thing. So I think people conflate large numbers with quality a
yeah,
lot, and especially with Shadur Sanders, because don't get me wrong, the dude can read across with the best of them, right? They have
yeah,
simplified that offense down to an absolute science involving crossing routes and occasional deep shots. He's got it. He knows exactly what to do in his offense.
right.
But how does that play into a bigger picture and winning? It's not the best
No,
because you can't win a whole game just nickel and diamond teams all the way down to the field normally. Normally that will catch up to you eventually.
yeah,
And also that will hurt your rating because your throws aren't quality is
right.
what they'll say is what factors into the rating. And I think that's where it really kind of hits them. So
It'll be interesting. I don't know. Again, I don't think they're going to be a playoff team. I think that's a stretch. Will they have more wins than last year? Yeah, because they're not playing in the Pac-12 with a national championship contending Washington and Oregon and USC, and
yeah.
they don't have to play any of those teams.
Yeah.
So that's going to be helpful. I'm not saying the Big 12 is terrible by any stretch, but they're not the caliber that the Pac-12 was last year.
Right.
Right. But anyway, so you had that. Yeah, Missouri with a bye week, basically playing Massachusetts, UMass, winning 45-3. How about California? California can't be any more hard luck. Uh,
Yeah, they keep getting bad breaks, don't they?
17-15 to number 22 Pittsburgh. But Cal has lost by 1 to Miami, by 2 to Pittsburgh, by 5 to Florida State. Those are their 3 losses. They're
Yeah,
3-3.
the Florida State one's unexcusable because Florida State's terrible.
If
But
it is, yeah, you're right.
the
You're
other
right.
two are quality
Uh,
losses, as quality a loss as you can get,
right.
knowing that especially against Miami, you should
You
have
should
an
have won.
opportunity to kill the clock.
They should have beat Miami.
And against Pitt, their offense just kind of went
Yeah.
a little stalled out. But
tough.
Still, you were in it.
Right. The two unbeatens in the ACC, Cal has played and lost by a total of 3 points.
Yeah.
That's kind of crazy. And back-to-back weeks too. That's going to be tough. And they got NC State this week. NC State might be a bounce back game. NC State has not looked good. Not like they were supposed to. And Cal plays Oregon State too. That's kind of cool on the schedule. I didn't realize that. I didn't realize that was a thing. But that's good.
Keeping some of those Pac-12
those ties just in
games
case you need to come back. I mean,
Yeah.
there's that.
There's always a chance.
Don't say never. And then anybody else in the rankings here? We had Purdue and Illinois in a wild
barn burner.
They're 39 points in the fourth quarter between the two teams, right?
Yeah.
Wild. I on a sack on a 2-point conversion. That's how Illinois wins. Purdue's going for the win, and the quarterback gets sacked. It's like the only thing you can't do is get sacked, right? But anyway, so yeah, that was a good. I didn't watch it. I didn't see any of that football game, but it looked like the best football game of the day, right? Purdue scores.
You look back at the stats, you go, huh?
Yeah,
That looks like a good gem right there.
Purdue scored 40 second half points, dude. just to climb back in it. But yeah, this is good. Yeah, Illinois 5-1. They're number 23, right? We were number 23 last week. We'll talk about that here in a minute. And then of course we had to sit through most of that stuff. Most of that stuff happened before we got to the main event, um, which was the primetime game. And number 3 Oregon beats number 2 Ohio State 32-31. That was the first time since, oh gosh, they played in Oregon at some other point in like the 50s or I can't remember when it was. They actually played at Oregon, but it has been a long time. They've only played each other 11 times now, and
Is that right?
it's now 9-2. Yeah, I think that's
Ugh.
right. It's now
But we've gotten the last two.
we won 2 in a row. Yeah, Oregon's won 2 in a row. I love the fact that this game was a close game all the way, and then if you look at that win probability chart that ESPN throws up, Oregon apparently didn't really have a chance until the very end. And I'm like, how is that possible? This game was back and forth. Oregon had the lead at the half, and that's where they give them this little dip of green right here. Where Oregon, oh, okay, a 50.1% chance to win now. They really thought Ohio State was going to win, and yet it was only a 3-point. The pollsters only had it as a 3-point game, a 3-point line. But anyway, this game had, and at some point in time, one of the announcers on TV says this game has everything, like Stefan from SNL, and I was like, it did, and that was after the onside kick. And by the way, I know you've seen the meme that the guy said everybody's been thinking it. Oregon's kicker is the MVP because he's the first one that ever did it, and I'm like, yeah. Just drill it.
Booted it right at someone.
Yeah, just as fast and as hard as you can. Make them either they got to get out of the way or try and catch it. And he tried to catch it. He couldn't get out of the way. It just drills him off the shoulder. And I'm like, yeah,
right back to him. Yeah,
because it's gonna come back hard. But it was.
Well, I mean, it's a weird shaped ball. It might not.
It might
hit his shoulder and go straight up in the air.
It could have.
His shoulder go straight to the ground. It also could come straight back out.
But if you kick it hard enough and it hits a shoulder pad, like the chest parts of the shoulder pad, like it did, if you hit the chest parts of the shoulder pad, there's a flat surface. It doesn't matter which part of it hits there. It's going to come back off of you, even if it goes up.
The only caveat to that is if it hits the end of the football, it deadens out really
a little
hard.
bit.
So it's not going to come back. No, I mean, like I've watched it. I've watched it happen a ton. If it hits the very point of the ball against the thing, that is such a dense spot. It absorbs like everything. There's not a lot of air at the end of the football. It's all in the middle, and so it would die. It'd still come back a little bit, but not nearly as much as it did because it came right back to him.
Oregon missed a field goal. Oregon missed 2-point conversions. Went for it twice. Didn't get it. Only because one of them technically one wasn't a 2-point conversion. It was the holder throwing the football.
Yeah.
Did you see that hook shot he threw? He threw that ball into the end zone. He threw it like 20 yards into the end zone. Over his shoulder. I was like, holy moly, that's pretty good. But yeah, no, it was not. And they were trying to say on TV that it was a good snap. That ball was pretty high.
It wasn't great.
So it wasn't great. But anyway, that was the mistake that led to them going for 2 on the second touchdown. Didn't get it. Now you're down 2 because it was 14-12. They eventually missed a field goal. The kicking game, the special teams was a downside except for the onside kick and the fact that Sappington hit, 2 field goals to include a pressure-packed one there at the end. I know it was only 19 yards, but still, that's a big deal.
A lot of energy there.
Yeah, there was a lot going on right there. And like I said, I like the fact that this game didn't come down to one team throwing an interception or fumbling the ball away or whatever. I like the fact that it was 2 offenses going back and forth there at the end. Touchdown, field goal. That's how it actually ended with literally touchdown, field goal, back and forth.
Right.
And I like that. I think that's great. I don't like games that end and you go, oh, you know what I mean? This one was good. And if you're an Ohio State fan, I'm sure they all just went, oh, but the management, he slid and it was 0. It was real close. I mean, you probably could, I don't know. I never saw a replay, like a slow motion replay of exactly the time.
I saw a replay. And here's the thing. If you stop the clock, the moment he initiates the slide,
right,
there's a second.
Right.
But like it's teetering on that, like if it's counting down, it's like 1.011, whatever,
right.
It's right just over a second. If you stop at the moment his butt hits the ground, which is a very short distance in between,
Right.
in time, it's 0. So it
Yeah.
definitely was done when he hit the ground.
Yeah.
But I always thought you were supposed to. I always thought the play was dead when the clock hits, or when you initiate the slide.
It should
But
it should have
it's
been, but
also about the official when they recognize it and blow
recognize,
the
yes,
whistle.
correct,
Yeah.
and you have to be able to call a timeout, right? Because that's what they were trying to do is
Right.
call a time. Because I don't think it was a first down that he was running for. So
I think it was short, right?
yeah, so I think he was coming up. Well, let's go look play by play. Is this the last one?
Uh,
This is the
yeah,
first
third
one.
and 20, he rushed for 12 yards, so it would have
Yeah.
been rolling.
So yeah, the clock would have been rolling, and you had to get the timeout in. So you've got to have the official blowing the whistle at the proper time, and you've got to have signaled for the timeout, and they've got to acknowledge it. That's at least a full second. You know what I mean?
Right.
By the time you figure out all that, but oh man, what a football game! I I
What
I
a football game.
I was not expecting this to be this good. I was just hoping they would stay close, but
Yeah.
it ended up being really really good. And let's be fair, if that first possession for Ohio State had ended in an interception like it probably should have, this might not have been this
Should have.
close. It might not have
Yeah,
been
we
this close.
wouldn't be talking about this.
Yeah, all other things equal, Oregon's then dealing with an 8 point lead or hell if they don't score, and then Oregon goes and scores, it's like 14-0 Oregon at that point, and Ohio
Yeah.
State will be forced to do some stuff. This would have changed everything, but it is what it is. It worked out okay. We'd be really crying right now had Oregon lost, and that play would be stuck in your memory forever. But I don't know. This might have been this is first ever top 5 matchup in Autzen Stadium. The atmosphere was amazing, largest crowd ever in Autzen Stadium. I don't know how they keep squeezing people in. What are they doing with them? But this had over 60,000 people.
They sell those standing room tickets that don't normally sell.
Right. Well, yeah, and they must be selling them 2 or 3 deep.
Yeah.
But your takeaway from the game, you think Oregon is as good as Ohio State?
As good, yes. That is exactly the way to say it.
Yeah.
I think there are some facets of our game that are better. I think we have better quarterback play, and I honestly think we have a better defense. But they've got better receivers than us.
For sure.
I think that they've got a. I don't know that they have a better running game based on this game, because it kind of felt like a bit of a wash. It was 141 to 155 in terms of yardage, similar carries, similar yards per carry.
Yeah.
Both had 2 touchdowns, so it's just kind of a wash in that regard. But I just feel like their receiver play was a little cleaner. So
Yeah.
I think maybe their offense might have a slight edge on our offense, but I think our defense has an edge on their defense.
And what I saw from the trenches, offensively and defensively, from the offensive line, defensive line, was that there was really no difference.
Right.
They were pretty even. I will say that it looked like Dylan Gabriel might have had more time to throw the football. But he gets rid of it pretty fast, so that's kind of hard to say. Will Howard is a good quarterback. Let's not.
He's not bad.
Words. He is hard to bring down. He has escapability. He's not super fast. He's not going to win you a foot race, but he is big and strong, and he reminds me of Josh Allen.
Yeah.
In that respect. But yeah, I don't know. That was good. And then you have James with 115 yards rushing. Ohio State did it with 2 guys. Oregon does it with 1 guy for the most part. Evan Stewart, 7 catches, 149 yards and a touchdown, right?
Yeah.
And they needed him
to be the guy.
Yeah, they needed him. The ejection didn't help. You just can't spit on someone in front of the referee. You can spit. You can spit on him.
You can spit on someone, period.
You can spit on them in the pile. It happens all the time.
I was just gonna say, it was so funny because I was talking to somebody about that yesterday, and I was saying that linemen spit on each other all the time. Like when they initially run into each other, they all the time.
Yep.
It's like, this is not an uncommon occurrence. I've never seen an ejection for spitting, and everyone knows it happens. I will say this: the Ohio State player made a whole production out of it.
He did. He made it seem like he got it all over him.
Oh my gosh!
Right.
They got me.
Yeah.
But yeah, you still can't do it.
No, and that was Trayshawn Holden. That was a mistake.
They said he'll face some. What did they say? Some punishment.
As he should. Yeah. And but someone else.
But he also sat the biggest game of might have been his entire college football career.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah. So. and to be fair, Tez Johnson, teams are are getting a grasp on him. He did have 7 catches, 75 yards, and a touchdown. But 10 yards a catch. He did have a 48 yard. So technically, six of his catches were for 27 yards,
Yeah.
and then one big one for
Yeah.
48. Oregon did have some pretty big plays, right? There's 4 of them right there in the receiving. The 69 yarder to Stewart, 48 to Tez Johnson, and 2 32-yard plays. Those are big.
Those are big. Yeah.
Yeah, Dylan Gabriel had a 27-yard run. Jordan James had a 25-yard run. Those are big plays. Travion Henderson had a 53-yard run. And they had big plays on their offense, too. But it was a well-played football game. I loved watching it. I thought it was great. Yeah, I can't wait for the rematch.
We think we're going to get one in the conference championship?
In Indianapolis. Yeah, absolutely. I absolutely do.
That's gonna suck so bad.
Why?
Because it's gonna be all Ohio State fans there.
I don't know. I think you'll see more Oregon than you think. There's a lot of travel.
I know, but Ohio State fans are gonna be jonesing for redemption, and
No,
people
sure.
who are angry and bitter spend more money than they should on stuff like that.
Yeah, we'll see.
So they'll travel well. But yeah, it was a great game. It was exactly what you want. How'd you feel about the? Have you heard all the? I know you brought it up the other day a little bit, but the controversy with the 12 men on the field.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that's a planned thing or if the. I mean, they're trying to make it sound like.
Have you not listened to Dan Lanning talk about it?
Did he say it was?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't hear him say.
He said what he said was that they practice a lot of unusual. Well, I'm going to read the exact quote because it's being investigated now by the NCAA for a potential rule change.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. So he said when they asked about it, they said we spend an inordinate amount of time on situations. There's some situations that don't show up very often in college football, but this is one that obviously was something we had worked on, so you could see the result. So he's aware.
Interesting.
He's aware of it. He didn't all but say, yeah, it's on purpose. But yes, it's being investigated now by the NCAA, and they're trying to determine should they do something. Like, I've always thought it was strange that a defense can commit a penalty, but you just lose the time.
Yeah.
I've always thought it was kind of weird.
Well, time should never be the penalty, ever. You know what I mean? You shouldn't ever lose time, because a team that's ahead wants that to happen, right? You want to lose time, and I don't think that's okay. I think time should never. I think all fouls should stop the clock. First of all, I mean, it's foul, so we're going to stop the clock if we're enforcing it, right? I think, and then again, I could also say that if you're going to decline the penalty, then the clock needs to roll. The minute you decline it, let's roll the clock, right? Because you don't want the penalty. Why would we stop the clock? There is no penalty, right?
So this is how the NFL operates. The NFL will reset the game clock to the original time when an illegal substitution penalty is called. But in college football, it's not a dead ball penalty.
Right.
That's the kicker.
Yeah.
In the NFL, it's a dead ball penalty. In college football, it's not.
No, it just keeps running. So it was.
Yeah,
I mean,
it just keeps running.
If it was intentional,
it's a big brain play.
If it was intentional, then yeah, it was a great deal. If not, then he's taking credit for it, and maybe that's the secret is that he's like, we didn't mean to do that, but okay. I don't know.
Put that one in the book for later.
Right. Yeah. And if you're, how do you plan for that if you're the other team?
Yeah, I mean,
you can't get out of that situation. That situation presents itself. You have to be smarter. Yeah.
I guess as soon as you see the flag, see, but the problem is the flag comes out and you don't know what it's for.
Right.
Initially,
and they're stopping the clock.
Maybe you've already counted, right? But you don't know what it's for. It could be offsides.
Well, they knew it was 12 men
on the field.
Ryan Day knew.
Yeah. So, but Ryan Day knew. But the quarterback doesn't necessarily know, so he has to run the play.
Right.
Like it's a free play or whatever. You know what I mean?
Right.
He has to just try and work it out. But yeah, I think they'll change the rule. They'll make it probably to where under 2 minutes, defensive penalties reset the game clock or something like that. I don't know. Or 12th men penalty resets the game clock. So
yeah.
It's
yeah.
Okay.
Ohio State also killed
themselves. A lot of
people
have a problem with it.
Ohio State also killed themselves with 8 penalties. And there was one drive in particular where I think they had 3 false starts. And you can say what you want about Oregon's stadium and the crowd and not being very big. And it is a loud and difficult place to hear anything if you're on the field. It is crazy hard. So we get it. And teams, the first time you come there, I don't know that you've fully prepared for how loud it actually gets down there. Just the architecture of that freaking Pringles shaped stadium. What are you going to call it? Taco. The Taco Bowl. Um, anyway. Yeah, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what else to say. Oregon's got Purdue next. Hopefully it's not a letdown game playing at
Yep.
yeah, and it's not obviously Purdue's got some fight in them. They played Illinois really really tough. Um, I did not look and see who Ohio State plays next week, but we're about to right now. Nebraska. It's not
Ooh,
next week. It's
they
in
got a
2 weeks.
good game.
They got a bye week,
Oh,
and then they get
they're doing their
Nebraska.
bye after. That's a
Yeah,
bummer.
but their back end is loaded, so they play at Penn State the week after that. So Nebraska could be a trap game. And then at
Yeah.
the end of the season, they have an Indiana team that's unbeaten right now, and Michigan, of course, that team up north. So we'll see how that goes. But I like it. Oregon's still has to play some. These are Illinois is still a good team. You got to play at Michigan, you got to play at Wisconsin, and you got to play Washington, who's always going to get up for
Right.
you. So there's not a gimme on this schedule left, except maybe Purdue. But like I said, Purdue had some fight in them, so I don't know.
Yep.
Maryland is 3-3, but they can be difficult too. A lot of good football teams. Just there's you know this conference is loaded, and the worst part is the bottom of it is where USC and UCLA and Washington are kind of sitting in terms of the conference. They're the Pac-12. Those three teams are 3-9
Yeah.
in the Big Ten, and Oregon's 3-0. So
I
I
think
don't
it's
know.
funny that USC and UCLA were the ones that started the dissolution of the Pac-12
Yeah,
because the Big Ten wanted them in their market, and now they're your two
yeah.
of your worst teams.
They wanted that LA market. They're getting the LA market for sure.
They're getting it,
They're
and
getting it.
still everyone's tuning in to watch Oregon.
Make sure you want what you get. Um, anyway, I'm looking forward to the rest of the season. It's going to be great.
Yep.
Right now, so if we look at the AP Top 25, the new one, Oregon got 6 first place votes.
Yep.
Texas is still number one. This is exactly the top 5 that I told you it would be. Um, Texas remains number one only because it is a win over a ranked team. Their win over Oklahoma, or was a ranked team, and it's a big deal. The rivalry game's always going to be tough. I get it, but I wouldn't have taken it away from Texas either. Had Oregon won by like 10 or 14 points and made it more convincing, you'd see a more even
Yeah.
distribution of those first place votes probably. But it is what it is, and I don't want to be number one. I'll be honest with you. I don't want to be number one. Number two is
No
just
need.
number two is just fine. You still have to win the conference championship game to get a bye. So it doesn't matter. This game is technically irrelevant. If we had lost this game and then played Ohio State in the conference championship game and beat them, we'd have the bye. So
Yeah.
you have to win that conference championship game to get the bye. Ohio State only drops 2 places, but now you have Big Ten 2, 3, 4
Yeah.
right there, and that's the power.
It was a couple weeks ago. It was the SEC 2-3-4,
And I'm not sure
wherever it
I'm
was.
not sure Penn State will be here very long either. They're going to fall from unbeaten. They got to play Ohio State, and I don't think they're good enough to beat Ohio State. I don't. So we'll see how that goes. But Oregon and Penn State don't play each other. So there's a chance,
Right.
or if Penn State beats Ohio State, that Oregon and Penn State play for the Big Ten championship.
Fingers crossed.
That's out
There's
there
also
too.
a chance that if Michigan beats Ohio State, that Oregon and Michigan could be playing for the Big Ten
Oh,
title.
but Oregon and Michigan have to play. So
Oh, that's true. Yeah,
and
yeah,
Michigan
yeah.
already has a loss in the conference, right? They lost to Washington. And if Oregon beats them, they'll have 2 conference losses. It'd be hard for Michigan to get in the conference championship game if Oregon beats them. But if they win out,
Gotcha.
there's a chance. Yeah, you're right. They could play twice, Michigan and Oregon. But I don't think Michigan's all that great either. But anyway, you're looking at the top 25 right here. Most overrated team in the top 25 right now is
Most overrated team in the top 25 right now is Old Miss.
maybe at 5-2. They're the only
Maybe at
one of the only.
5-2.
Michigan's still on there too with 2 losses. So.
Michigan's on there at 4-2. They would be off if they played this past weekend. Well, obviously and lost, but yeah. I also think there's a couple teams like, without any offense to Army and Navy, I think those two teams would get slaughtered by the teams up top.
Well, to be fair, most of those teams at the bottom would get slaughtered by those teams up top. I mean, Pittsburgh, SMU.
We're gonna find out about
right.
some of it.
We are. You're right. Yeah.
But most overrated. I'd either go with Ole Miss, or Notre Dame. Probably be my two.
And
Tennessee's playing really badly, but but Notre Dame still just they just I don't know. I just don't trust them.
I might even throw in Clemson in that mix, just
Maybe
because
they are going
they're
crazy now.
way up there right now, 10th and ninth in those two polls. I don't know that they're that good. I don't know that they're better than Tennessee. I don't even know they're better than Notre Dame.
Right.
Um, and until we see BYU and Texas A&M and Boise State, right? We're not going to see Boise State play anybody until we see them in the playoff. Um,
Yeah.
which at this rate they might be. But yeah, I don't know. This is a tough one because these rankings are so there's so many teams from you know. I don't know that Miami's great. I don't think Alabama has been great, but they probably could be, and it could beat anybody. LSU is one of those teams also that could beat anybody. Iowa State, I don't know. These teams you start to get a little watered down when you get to 9, 10, 11, 12 maybe. But I think you have the top I hate to say this, but you have 1, 2, and 4 and 5 that are very good. I
Yeah.
don't think Penn State's. I think Penn State's down here with Miami and Alabama and LSU. Um, that's where I'd put them. But that's just me. But you can't obviously because they're unbeaten. But I think that's kind of how this is going to shake out eventually. We'll find out.
That's fair.
Yeah, but that's kind of what I feel. All right, and then we got next week, right? Oregon plays Purdue. You got an Oklahoma State BYU game. It's at BYU. Those are both Friday night, by the way. If you're wanting to watch Oregon, it's at 5 o'clock on Friday on Fox. Miami has to go to Louisville. That could be tough for them. But Miami's Cam Ward should be on your Heisman ballot if he isn't already. Virginia plays at Clemson. That could also be trouble for Clemson. Virginia's pretty good football team. Not great, but I don't know how good Clemson is. Nebraska and Indiana are playing a gigantic game on Fox on Saturday. Indiana could be 7-0 by the end of that game. I don't know. So that'll be interesting. Auburn plays at Missouri. East Carolina at Army. Alabama, Tennessee is the one you want to watch, right?
Yeah.
That's one of those two is kind of almost loser out, almost at this point,
They're
right?
they're getting close.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it'll be hard. It'd be hard to keep Alabama out if you said their losses were to well, they lost to Vandy. See, I don't know. It'd be hard to keep Tennessee out.
Yeah.
Tennessee's losses are more respectable, I guess. Is that what we're saying? I don't know. That's a tough
That's a
one.
tough way to say that. Yeah.
That's a tough one. That's a tricky. Those teams are kind of even. I guess that should be fun to watch. But that's on ABC at 12:30.
That all just determines how it shakes out down the stretch.
Yep. You got Notre Dame at Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech's dangerous, so watch out Notre Dame. But I'd still think Notre Dame would be the favorite. Michigan and Illinois, two ranked teams. Illinois is playing good football. I don't know how this one's going to shake out either, but we'll see how Michigan does on the road. Charlotte at Navy, because this is what you get when you get Navy and Army, right? You get Charlotte. Texas A&M plays Mississippi State, so nothing's going to change. Texas A&M should be 4-0 and on top of the SEC at that point. LSU plays a dangerous Arkansas team on the road. And then we have the Georgia-Texas game. That's going to be, right, the primetime game on ABC.
Yeah.
That'll be good. I think that's a good test for Texas against a defense that's usually pretty good. I don't know how good they are. They gave up a lot of points to Alabama, but and they gave up some points to Mississippi State. But they'll come to play against Texas. And then you have what?
An effort, yeah.
Yeah, and then you have Iowa State, UCF, and then Kansas State, West Virginia, SMU, Stanford. Also ran games in the top 25. But yeah, it's going to be exciting. As long as Oregon doesn't have a letdown against Purdue, I think that would be nice. I would be happy with that.
See how it all shakes out.
Yeah, get to watch that one and then all the other ones. That's good. I like having that game on Friday, so that on Saturday I don't have to miss anything else to watch the Oregon game.
It's true. It is nice.
It is nice. So I don't know how many more times that happens. We've done it twice now, right? 2 times on Friday now.
Yeah, this is our second Friday game, which is
amazing.
Strange.
For us, it is. Yeah, I mean it's not normal. All right.
Usually we did one a year versus Cal, but yeah.
Let's talk NFL.
Yes.
Let's talk about the NFL Week 6, right? Thursday night, if you watched it, the Seahawks basically handed my fantasy team a loss by not being able to play football against the 49ers. So I lost my fantasy matchup pretty much on day one of this week because, they couldn't stop the Niners and they let freaking George Kittle score 2 touchdowns and they threw interceptions and Geno Smith didn't look great to me. But hey, what do I know? The Niners look good when they're healthy. They do.
They always do.
They
They
do.
always look good when they're healthy.
And
There's no excuse for them to lose games when they're healthy.
yeah, and then Seahawks kind of handed them. They helped them out in this one. They kind of handed them, you know, some turnovers. That doesn't hurt anything. Chargers Broncos on Sunday, 23-16 Charger win. Was interesting. I feel like
Strange game.
yeah, and then Pat Surtain's got a concussion, and
Yeah, that hurt right away.
yeah, for
Because
sure.
I think that happened on like the third or fourth play of the game.
Yeah, I don't know how good that is for. I mean, hopefully he's not seriously hurt. He's by far. I mean, I'm going to say it, their best player on defense. You have to
I don't. He's a top 5, maybe top 10 defensive player in the entire league.
in the league. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. Bo Nix was kind of Bo Nix. 19 of 33, 216 yards, 2 touchdowns, interception. He did throw Troy Franklin his first touchdown of the NFL,
Yeah.
which was a big deal. He was mentioning it after the game. You know, we had an Oregon guy snapping the ball, an Oregon guy throwing the ball, an Oregon guy catching the ball.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's ever happened before.
I don't know. Yeah. When the starting center got hurt and they announced Alex Forsythe was doing it, I was like, hey. I was like,
Hey.
Alex Forsythe has snapped for both Justin Herbert and Bo Nix.
That's crazy, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a good football game. But when Bo Nix is your leading rusher, also as Denver, that's not great.
We got
Yeah.
some running issues.
There's some issues there, but it wasn't a bad football game, and I thought that Denver did a great job of trying to come back at the end, but
Too little, too
it was
late.
too little, too late at that point. So the Chargers play a much better. They're much better defensively than they've been.
Yeah.
Their offense still struggles. It has issues, and there's a lot of holes there. But their defense plays a lot better than we've seen it play for the last, I don't know how many years, 5 or 6. I don't know.
Yeah.
But they're definitely better. So that was a good matchup to watch. Good fun game. Like 23-16. Anytime you get a close game. But most of the games in the NFL have been close this year. Not the one in London. The Bears clubbed the Jaguars. Jaguars are terrible. 1-5.
Yeah,
They
Jaguars
look
are really bad.
They looked bad. Packers scoring points early and often beat the Cardinals 34-13. The Colts Titans, if you like defensive running the football kind of games, that was your game. 2017 Colts, but the Titans are 1-4 too, so they're terrible. Texans beat up on the Patriots. The Texans, C.J. Stroud is good, and Nico Collins is good, and the defense is pretty good. I have a hard time. Would have a hard time betting against the Texans now against almost anybody. That's a good football team. I think really good. And then the Buccaneers scored 51 points. Did you have the Buccaneers scoring 51 points this week?
No, but I did have them winning.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I could see that. But 51 points, a lot of points for an NFL team. I mean,
51 points is a lot of points for an NFL team. I agree. However, we did have a bunch of teams eclipse the 35-point mark this week.
We did.
That's unusual.
We did too.
Normally the games are like 24-17. It's kind of like your standard.
Yeah. Yeah. Baker Mayfield continues to impress me. I'm telling you, 325 yards and 4 touchdowns.
Yeah, he looks good.
He's got receivers though. I mean, so he's in a good situation. But I like Tampa Bay in that division, just because they look pretty good. The Eagles beat the Browns 2016. I'm not sold that the Eagles are great. That was not a great convincing win against a Browns team that's 1-5 and might have the worst quarterback in the league. Is that wrong to say that Deshaun Watson might be the worst starting quarterback in the league?
Yeah, actually, yes.
You think so? You think there's worse ones?
Joe Flacco is starting.
Well,
Andy Dalton is starting.
But they're starting because of injury.
Is starting. It doesn't matter, but they're starters. Like, if you're talking about day one, full healthy roster starters, he might be. But also, Aiden O'Connell, Gardner Minshew.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, I think there are some worse dudes out there. Not many. Not many. The Patriots. Anybody from the Patriots is probably worse.
Yeah.
Even Will Levis is probably worse.
Okay. All right.
So there's tons of them out there, but he's not good. It doesn't.
No.
More specifically, it doesn't look good.
No.
I guess is the I say that because I don't know that he's doing particularly awful like himself, but things aren't working.
And
So
and as bad as the Browns look offensively, they didn't score an offensive touchdown in this game, and they almost beat the Eagles. So
yeah,
yeah, that's
he has the lowest QBR in the league. So
so
there is that.
how does that equate to the Eagles being any kind of good? Because the Eagles struggled in this one to beat them. I don't know that. I don't know.
I don't know that the Eagles are that good.
I don't think they are that good. I think their window might have closed. Well, they got rid of once Kelsey retired, it was over, right? So
I guess
I feel like that's what just happened is that
it's the way it seems. Yeah.
yeah, Jason Kelsey goes out and now it's game over, season over.
Yep.
The Commanders and Ravens played a pretty entertaining football game, and I like Jaden Daniels, but Lamar Jackson is Lamar Jackson, and Derrick Henry is Derrick Henry, and those two seem to be pretty damn good. Um, Derrick Henry, 24 carries, 132 yards, and 2 touchdowns in this one. Lamar Jackson threw for 323 and a touchdown. Um, I don't know if the Ravens are playing offensively and they're clicking because they still make mistakes. They still make some looks like some stupidness on offense.
Yeah.
They stutter at times, but when they're clicking, they're really really good. Um, might be the best offense in the league because Derrick Henry can run, and then Lamar Jackson drops back, and what are you going to do? Pressure him? He can run too,
Yeah, I'll
and
get you.
yeah, so he's just an MVP. That's all. But I like Jaden Daniels. I think Jaden Daniels is a really good quarterback. He might be.
He's looking really smart.
He looks comfortable in that role in the NFL. Not some of the other ones not so much the rookies, but
Right.
he looks very comfortable. Steelers Najee Harris with his first 100-yard game. Steelers kind of just rolled through the Raiders. Uh, the Raiders aren't very good. Again, you mentioned Aiden O'Connell. The
Yeah.
Raiders just aren't very good.
The Raiders are not good.
They're
Yeah.
not good. The Steelers are now 4-2. We're gonna see Russell Wilson this year. Is that
I think that's what they said. Is he's taking
next week?
first team snaps this week.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, next week. And then the Lions go out and just bomb the Cowboys, 47-9. Just blew them out the water, but they
At
lose.
home.
But they lose Aiden Hutchinson to a
Yeah.
broken tibia and fibula. And if you watch the replay, he got whipped around. He grabbed a hold of it. He was coming in full speed at an angle, grabs a hold of the quarterback. His legs get whipped around, and he hits them on another guy's leg, and it just snapped.
Yep.
It's just ridiculously gross looking. But
Yep.
he's out for the season. Who knows how long exactly, but Jared Goff was 18 and 25, 315, 3 touchdowns. They can run the football with Gibbs and Montgomery, and that's a really good football, and their defense is good. But the Cowboys are just they look so inept sometimes. I don't
They've got some issue, and I don't know what it is.
don't know.
I haven't
Yeah,
been able
I don't know what it is.
because they've got plenty of defensive pieces. They got plenty of offensive pieces. I
Now
don't know what the problem
they
is.
were without Micah Parsons in this one, but I don't think that's the difference. He wouldn't have saved them from a 47-point crushing.
I would agree.
No. Falcons beat the Panthers. The Falcons are 4-2. Bijan Robinson's good. That's a good running back. He complements Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins is having himself a pretty good season. He's not great, but he's good, right?
Yeah, he's good.
He's good.
That's a great way to say it. He's
Yeah,
not great, but
he's
he's good.
he's managing a team that is competitive in their division. They're 4-2. They're sitting there with the Buccaneers at 4-2, so they're doing all right. The Bengals, that was an ugly football game. The Bengals Giants game, come on, 17-7, and it was boring. I never, yeah, just boring. Talking about a Sunday night snoozer. That was terrible to watch. I didn't watch the whole thing. I'll be honest, because it was 7-0 at halftime. I said, I'm wasting a bunch of time watching nothing happen. Um, but
Yeah,
yeah,
I'm not sure you needed to.
I think neither of those teams makes the playoffs. And we talk a little bit about the Jets Bills because the Bills beat the Jets, but it was a much more competitive game. The Jets played pretty well in this game. Is that because they got themselves a new coach, or is that because they're just I don't know. I mean, what was the shakeup?
There's always like this renewal of excitement when you fire a coach and
Right.
hire a new one and things like that. So I don't know. I kind of get it. I always expect teams when that happens to be capable of something. Like I don't know. I've said it in years past. Like whenever a team hires coach or last couple games of the season for a bad team, like watch out, they're dangerous.
Yeah, and
So
and did you hear Aaron Rodgers? Um, saying that he was last week at the end of the game, at the end of the weekend last weekend, he got called by the general manager and had a conversation with him, and the question was to Aaron Rodgers whether he had anything to do with the coach being fired, Robert Saleh being fired,
Right.
and he basically said, "Well, if you think I have that much power, you're wrong." And also that yes, the general manager called me um, on I think it was Sunday night, might have been Monday night.
Yeah.
Anyway, whenever they fired him, he said he called me, but he was just checking on me, checking on my injury and making sure I was okay. And I was like, and the guys on they're like, you don't think that you're saying that the general manager called you the night before he's going to fire the head coach and he didn't run it by you, right?
You guys didn't talk about it at all,
Yeah, you
really?
didn't talk about it at all. You didn't just give him a slight, he didn't even say, hey, I'm thinking about getting rid of him. What do you think? I feel like Aaron Rodgers has, he can tell them who he wants on his team and they'll go get them. Alan Lazard is on this team because Aaron Rodgers wanted him. Randall Cobb.
Devontae Adams is about to be on this team.
Devontae Adams is about to be on this team. Is it going to help them? Maybe. I don't know. Their defense is pretty good. There's a bunch of good players. Brees Hall is a pretty good running back. I think they have all the parts and pieces. There's something missing, and I don't know what it is exactly on this team either. But it might be Aaron Rodgers. He plays well, but I don't. I feel like I'm not getting it all. You know what I mean? Like he's not going to sell out to win, right?
I would agree. It feels like a half effort.
Yeah. When you watch Josh Allen play, he's selling out to win, right? He's willing to sacrifice his body to go win a football game. I don't think Aaron Rodgers is willing to do that, and I don't blame him because he's 40, right? But still, but still, you know,
Sure.
I mean, you gotta. There comes a point where you just have to be willing to do everything you can to to win. It was interesting. Still think Buffalo's a really good football team. They've been struggling lately, but I still think that's an awful good football team. So there's your standings in the AFC. Um, Surprised by anybody in these standings? I mean, the Steelers at 4-2, maybe, or are you surprised that the Bengals are 2-4? Are we surprised that? I mean, it doesn't really seem super surprising, does it? I mean, was
The
there
the
something?
the Bengals having a at 2-4 is a little surprising. The Steelers at 4-2 is not surprising when you consider that they haven't played the Bengals or the Ravens yet.
Well, that's true.
They have 4 games coming up against much better teams. They also play the Chiefs down the stretch. Like the Steelers are going to get good teams. I mean, their last 3 games are Ravens, Chiefs, Bengals.
Yeah,
So like they're gonna get their fill here soon. Um, but I don't think any team is particularly surprising. The AFC West looks like the AFC West. It doesn't look
yep,
surprising. The Texans look good, picking up right where they were from last year, and the Colts were number 2 in the league last year.
yep.
There's just nothing crazy. Buffalo's on top.
No,
Miami's gonna sink if they don't get a quarterback back.
yeah, that's
but
ridiculous.
uh, but
Yeah,
no, the
yeah.
AFC looks fairly predictable.
NFC, on the other hand, the Commanders are leading the NFC East at 4-2.
Surprise, yeah.
That's a surprise. That's pretty good. The Cowboys being 3-3 with all the talent they have. Mm,
Mm.
am I super surprised?
They
No.
kind of did it last year
They
too.
kind of right. The Vikings
Yeah.
are probably the biggest surprise at 5-0.
Yeah,
Because they're
for
because
sure.
they're doing it with Sam Darnold, right? Um,
Right. It looks good.
and it looks good. I mean, he's doing exactly what Kirk Cousins does, though. He's managing a football team. He's making the
Yeah.
plays, and they're a good football team to begin with. You insert quarterback here. The Lions now at 4-1. Aiden Hutchinson's a big loss.
The whole NFC North has a winning record.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's
Like
true.
that's crazy.
Although I think the Bears will change.
They'll all start playing each other here soon. I don't think they've played a lot of divisional stuff.
The Bears have the Vikings twice, the Packers,
Yeah.
the Niners, the Lions twice, and the Commanders still on their schedule. So that's
Yeah.
yeah. There's a lot
They'll
going
all
on.
start playing each other.
Yeah,
It'll shift out.
yeah. But I feel like that's the team that'll end up on the bottom. I'm not saying they're bad. I'm just saying they're going to end up at the bottom of that
Most
division.
likely.
At the bottom of that division.
Yeah.
And then it'll be a 3-team race for the top. Atlanta and Tampa, that looks like a 2-team race at the moment. We thought New Orleans had turned over a new leaf and was going to score a bazillion points, right, after a couple games, and now they've lost 4 straight. They're just teasing. I don't like that.
Yeah.
Stop teasing me. Carolina.
Yeah. Falcons and Tampa is a surprise, I think.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a good. That's good. I
Good
like
division.
watching. Yeah, I like watching that. I want to see those guys play some more. The NFC West is going to be a mess unless the Niners are going to play full on, healthy and play good football. Because
The
anybody,
Niners are the only one with a positive differential.
yeah, everybody else has been outscored.
That's kind of crazy.
And then like you were talking about the NFC North, they're at least plus 41. The lowest team in their division is plus 41
Yeah.
through 6 games. I think it's crazy. We have games next week. Broncos Saints on Prime Video on Thursday. Do you like the games on Prime Video being on Prime Video? Should they just be on a regular channel?
I
You
don't
don't
care.
care? All right.
I have to turn on my TV and select the app, whether it be YouTube TV or Prime, the same way. So it
Good.
does not matter to me.
That is a good point. Either the Patriots or the Jaguars is going to win their second game. That's important.
Or not.
But also it's at 6:30 in the morning in London. Did the Jaguars just go to London and stay for 2 weeks? Is that what just happened? Because they played this week in London.
To have.
Yeah, that's
to.
like the best thing ever. I would.
I mean, that's what they were talking about relocating him. So, but they
They'll
did
need a
just
new name.
approve the Jags stadium renovation,
Right.
Like a couple hours ago. So they're not going to move. But yeah.
And how bad is New England? Jacksonville's a 5.5-point favorite.
Yeah, New England's terrible too.
Falcons and the Seahawks. That might be a good football game if well, Geno Smith. Look at it, 6 touchdowns, 6 interceptions.
Yeah, he's had a rough year.
Yeah,
leads the league in passing yardage. At least he did at the end of Thursday night.
He
I
might.
don't know if he still
He
does.
might still. I haven't looked at the stats, but
it's
Titans Bills.
He's having.
That's a win for the Bills in my book, unless they do something stupid. Titans. Yeah, Titans got rid of the only player they had, right, Derrick Henry, and
yeah.
Bengals Browns. Right, there's a chance for the Bengals to be 3-4, and get right back into real being relative again. Joe Burrow's numbers look good.
And for the Browns to act like they're good again.
Joe Burrow's numbers are good. I mean, 12 touchdowns, 2 interceptions.
He's doing great. They're just not. Well, it's also a touch deceptive because they've had a couple. They had one really high scoring game so far this season. They scored 38 against Baltimore, 34 against Carolina, and their defense is just terrible.
Their defense is terrible. It's giving up a lot of points.
Yeah,
so, well, except for this last game, but it was the Giants. So, I mean, what are you gonna do?
Well, I mean, they freaking still.
Yeah.
Well, 7, I guess, but yeah, but they also only scored 7. Giants defense reared its head.
Texans at the Packers. That looks like a good game, right?
Texans Packers maybe
playing up there at Lambeau. Yeah, maybe. Dolphins Colts does not look like a good game, but that might be what makes it good. You know what I mean? Those kind of games can be fun to watch because neither team is great.
They get really close. Yeah.
Yeah. Lions Vikings for control of the NFC North. That's going to be fun to watch. That's an early game also on Fox. Eagles Giants. I don't care. Raiders Rams. Again, I don't care. Commanders are probably going to get another win against the Panthers. They're terrible. Chiefs Niners. Now we're talking, right?
Yeah, that's a good game.
Now we're talking Sunday afternoon. Chiefs coming off a bye week, pretty healthy and rested. The Niners seem to be pretty healthy. That will be interesting. Jets Steelers. Again, the Steelers might be the beneficiary of playing a team that's meh, and move to 5-2. Plus, if we see Russell Wilson, that'll be interesting. And then we got two Monday night games. Here's the one I'm upset about. The Chargers Cardinals is on ESPN Plus. Why?
Okay.
Why? It's exclusively on ESPN Plus. You have to have the Plus in order to watch the Chargers Cardinals on a Monday night game. I'm okay with you doing that on a Sunday when I wasn't going to be able to watch them anyway.
Is that accurate?
Yes.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sorry, I was looking at the other one because the other one says ESPN, ABC, ESPN Plus.
The other one's
a game that not a lot of people are going to care about.
It's true. The other one's a main broadcast, and it's Ravens Buccaneers. That's going to be a good football game. But I don't like the fact that we put things on ESPN Plus, a Monday night game. The regular Sunday games, Thursday games, and Monday games. Everyone should be able to watch them. I don't like that you have two. First of all, on Monday, I can't watch them both. I can't. I mean, I don't have two TVs.
That's not the point.
Yeah, I get it.
The point is that you pick the one that you want to watch.
I get it.
And then they can get an accurate draw of ratings based on teams.
But I want to watch them all. You know?
The split screen that crap. Because hey, they're both on ESPN Plus.
It's true.
I don't remember if ESPN Plus does give you the option to split.
I don't know if it does.
Maybe.
But yeah. I do have two smart TVs. I could fix it, but I don't want to.
Sure.
I don't want to do it. But
Also, you don't really see, that's just it. You don't really care to watch Chargers Cardinals. Like, you kind of
I
want to
really don't.
check in on it and see,
Right.
but you don't really care to watch it.
Right.
You just don't like that the
I,
option's not
and I already
firmly there.
and I'm arguing for everyone else. I already have ESPN Plus, so it's not a
You
big
don't you
deal.
don't need to argue for everyone else. They don't need your
It's
arguments.
not a big deal.
They can buy ESPN Plus.
I have Peacock, right? I don't have Paramount Plus, which I wish I did because of the Big Ten games. They're
Yeah,
broadcasting on Paramount Plus. I have
there's a
Prime
couple
Video,
of them. Yeah.
right? I have all of these. This is okay. So I'm not
Oh
really
well, Prime Video is included with Prime, so that's
right,
why you have it.
not
Yeah.
concerned about any of these. But yeah, when you start making more and more of them on pay apps, subscription things, I'm
Yeah.
not for that. All the football games should be, you know, more free. To me,
I don't see. I don't know because back there was a time when they expanded broadcasting in in the NFL, like in like the 70s or something like that.
yeah,
They expanded broadcasting to multiple channels, but not all channels were broadcast in all areas. And
right.
people had the same outrage then.
But the
How am I supposed to watch the Fox game? We don't get Fox in Denton, Texas.
yeah,
Like that sort of crap. Like,
but when it was that, at least there was a reason. It was a regional thing. It was a network thing. This is you asking people to pay money to watch this football game. That's what
well,
you're asking.
I wonder what portion of the
So
country has
yeah,
what's it called? Prime.
so if you're well, yeah, but I'm not even talking about. I'm talking about the ESPN Plus game. But
Yeah.
if you're asking for actual numbers, if you're looking for viewership, how do you rate that when this one you have to have ESPN Plus and another game you only need ABC? How do you rate them? How do you handicap that? Because not everyone has
Yeah.
ESPN Plus, but pretty much everyone gets ABC with their basic cable package, right? So how do you figure that out? Because you have two great teams and a good game on ABC. That's going to get much better ratings than the Chargers Cardinals on ESPN Plus.
Right.
So I don't
Well,
know.
here's another thing to consider, and I think this is important. Uh, an Xfinity cable package,
Yeah.
right? A basic, or not a basic one, but one that has all the potential sports you could possibly want.
Yeah.
Without any promos is the important part here. Is like $180.
Yeah.
YouTube TV 75. Prime membership is $100 a year, but you can extrapolate that down to being however many a month. Peacock is $10. Paramount's $10, and you're still less than a cable subscription.
Yeah.
With that's not on a promo. So yes, it's a lot of memberships, but it's not as big of a deal. I mean, my app signs me automatically into everything. It's super fast, so I don't know. It's not too bad. It's not too bad.
Yeah. I mean, I get it. Here's the leaders. If you want to look at that, we were talking about is Geno Smith still in charge or still in first place?
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, answer is yes. And by the way, Derrick Henry is on a pace to get almost 2,000 yards this year. Now it is 17 games, so there's that. But 2,000 yards,
Asterisk.
2,000 yards at his age is a big deal, right? Aiden Hutchinson was leading the league in sacks, and now he's gone. Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. Xavier McKinney, 5 interceptions already this year. That's a lot of interceptions in 6 games, right?
Yeah. There's some impressive stuff happening.
Nico Collins is 567 yards. That is one of the deep ball threats, boy, man. That guy, not only just can he outrun you, but he can catch the ball, those crossing patterns or routes, and he can outrun you that way. Or it's just he impresses me. I think he might be right now the best receiver in the NFL because he's also catching patches from C.J. Stroud and not from some other players who would be better throwers. So.
Or worse.
Well, there could be some worse ones. Yeah, he could be
catching. Could be on Deshaun Watson's team.
Yeah, well, then he wouldn't have this many yards.
Exactly.
Yeah. Anyway, but yeah. All right. So WNBA, the finals, right? If you watched any of the WNBA finals, I watched the end of game 1, which was wow. The Lynx came back from 13 down at the end of the first period, fought all the way back, tied the Liberty at the end of regulation. It went into overtime. Ends up being 95-93. The Lynx steal one in New York to take game 1. Game 2 was Sunday, and the Liberty win pretty easily, 80-66. And then game 3 is tomorrow night in Minnesota. It's been interesting to watch. That one game was interesting to watch. The Liberty had that game, and then just didn't finish. They belong in college football. Have you watched any of it at all?
I watched the second game
Yeah, second game.
that they won. I
Ah,
didn't get to watch the first game. I was busy, but the
yeah,
second game they did fine. They
yeah,
came out and they handled their business.
yeah. It's
It's
been
just it's just been a little underwhelming because it's been overshadowed by all the NFL stuff.
we were watching your mother and I were watching game one, and we're watching part of it, and your mom makes a comment. She goes, "They move so slow," and
By
and
comparison,
I was like,
yeah,
"Yeah,
it's really
yeah." Well,
slow.
if you watch it and you're expecting NBA, yeah, no, no, yeah. There's a lot of slow moving. Um, but even there was like a girl, I can't remember, one of the bigger girls. She stole the ball or had a ball bounce her way, and she broke out of the pack and went down and laid it up. And I was like, it's just moving so slow. We don't know if we're gonna get to the other end. But yeah. Anyway, so game three is Wednesday night. Game four is Friday, and there will be a game five um, at this point. But anyway, I don't know. It's been interesting. Baseball. We haven't talked anything about baseball. We're talking about it real quick. Uh, Mets and Dodgers series tied at one. Series is moving back to New York. They play tomorrow night, 5:08. It's on Fox Sports One. Um, the Mets are on a hell of a ride. They beat the Brewers, who are a division winner. They beat the Phillies, who are a division winner, and now they got the Dodgers. They have to go through three division winners to get to the World Series. Indians. I call them the Indians. The Guardians and the Yankees. Whoops, are in the American League Championship Series. They're in Game Two in New York. New York won Game One. Game Two is 3-0 Yankees at the end of four. That's on TBS if you want to watch it right now. Um, the Yankees and Guardians, I think, were the two best records in the American League. So yeah, they were. They had the bias. They're the two best records. So they should be there, right? I mean, the Mets shouldn't be where they are. Been pretty lucky, but I was happy that the Braves got knocked out in the first round. That's all I cared
Yeah,
about.
just gotta get the Braves knocked
I just
out,
needed
and
the
everything will
Braves
be
so bad.
fine.
Yeah, I didn't care if the Mets did anything. As long as the Braves don't do anything, I don't care. I'm a little partial. What are you gonna do? But it's been good. The Dodgers crushed them in Game One, 9-0. That was ugly. And then the Mets use a grand slam, right? A grand slam to win 7-3 in Game Two. But it's good. This is good baseball. I think the Yankees are going to sweep Cleveland. That's just kind of how I feel.
It's looking like it, which is funny
Yep.
because I thought that the Guardians were gonna win.
Yeah, I think. Well, Cleveland struggled with Detroit, um, so there was kind of a there was that. The Dodgers kind of struggled with the Padres too. Padres are good. Padres won 90 something games. So, but the difference between any of these teams like the Dodgers, Mets, the difference is like 8 games, right, in the regular season, 8 or 9 games.
Right.
It's not a lot. It seems like there's a gigantic difference, but the Dodgers were the number one seed in the National League, and the Mets were the last one, the sixth, right? And the difference is
Yeah.
I think 9 wins. So, that can be somebody getting hurt. That can be just playing bad for a week, right? That's 6 games right there.
Could be
So
small, could be big. Yeah.
yeah, so you just don't know how things happen. You win a couple of one-run games here and there against that team, and that swings things 4 games. But anyway, I would so yeah, Subway Series still on the table. Mets Yankees. I don't know. I don't know if I want to play the Yankees. I don't. We've played the Yankees before. I would like to see the Cleveland get in there.
The world wants to see you play the Yankees is the better way to think about it.
Yeah, everybody in New York wants to see that. I don't know, but
Well, no,
but
the world wants
you
to
think
see it.
so?
If we're gonna, well, I mean, everyone wants to see the Yankees lose now, so that's fine too.
I
But also, if we have to get a next round with the Yankees, we want it to be against the Mets.
I think well MLB wants the Dodgers Yankees because
Well,
that's the
no,
market,
well,
right?
broadcast,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. That's what you want is Dodgers Yankees, the two largest media markets, and boom.
right.
But you're getting it right now with Mets Dodgers, so don't be greedy. So anyway, yeah, baseball has been I've been watching a lot more baseball because I don't watch it during the regular season. I don't just because those games mean nothing, and you can pick a game and you can sit down and watch it, and it's just like meh. We went to those 2 games, the Mariners and the Mets. Back in when was that? August?
August, yeah,
Yeah, when the Mets got
early
swept
August, yeah.
by the Mariners, and the Mariners looked for all the world like they were going to the postseason, and the Mets looked like they were going to go home.
Just didn't make a whole lot of sense.
And it didn't. Yeah, it didn't. The Mets scored 1 run in 3 games, right? They just looked awful. So, yeah, but yeah. Anyway, I think that's all I have. You got a trivia question?
I do have a trivia
All
question.
right, let's do a trivia question. We can do that.
So I don't think we've ever done this one before,
Okay, go.
but since the college football playoff has been around,
Yeah.
only 8 teams have been ranked number one.
Wait,
Who
what?
are those 8 teams?
Wait,
Since the college football playoff has been around, so 2015 to current, only 8 different teams have held a number one ranking.
seriously? Like in all the whole
Yep.
season? Like in like
From 9 years, yeah.
holy cow. Only 8.
Only 8 different teams.
Okay.
And what are those 8 teams?
Well, it's Alabama, Georgia.
Sure, there's 2.
It's clearly Texas right now.
Texas right now, yep.
Ohio State.
Yep.
I'm halfway there, right?
Yep, they're at 4.
I need to see a list of teams. Who else would have been in that? That would have been Oklahoma?
No.
Oh, seriously? Okay.
Yep.
Oklahoma's number one. All right. Michigan.
Michigan, yep, that's 5.
Forgot about Michigan entirely. I don't think Washington was ever number one last year. Were they?
They were not.
Okay, good.
Nope.
I don't think Oregon has been number one.
Nope.
In that playoff run. Because that would have happened in 2015. Let's
Right.
see. Let's see. It's got to be another SEC team, right?
There is 2, 3 more SEC
Are you
teams.
kidding me? So LSU's got to be one of them.
LSU is one of them.
Okay. Really? Are they all from that?
Oh, sorry. There's 9. I kind of want to know.
Oh,
But still, there's 3 more SEC teams. Yes, yeah, we're at 6 now.
3 more SEC teams?
Well, now there's only 2.
Oh, good Lord.
There was 3 when I said that, then you said LSU, so now there's only 2 more.
I want to say some of these other teams. I want to say, but that just doesn't sound right. Some of the names I'm about to say don't sound right.
Well, try them.
Tennessee.
Yep.
Tennessee was number one.
They had a number 1 ranking for 1 week.
Okay.
That's number 7.
And I feel like the other one's got to be in that other division. So like Tennessee and Georgia would be the only 2 that I'd pick. Oh, I say that, and then I'm thinking about no.
This one to me is a surprise.
I'm thinking about Missouri, but I'm thinking about I know, right? I'm thinking about those teams in the SEC East,
former SEC East,
right? That were like, but Missouri and Kentucky and Vandy and South Carolina.
Well, this school is in the SEC West.
That's what I was thinking, but I
former
okay.
SEC
So
West.
it would have to be. It'd have to be. It has to be. I want to say Ole Miss.
Nope.
Texas A&M.
Nope.
Nah, I don't know. Who's the other one?
Mississippi State.
Mississippi State. Okay.
They held it for 3 weeks,
Okay.
and then there's 1 team left.
And they're not in the SEC.
They're not in the SEC. They're a Big Ten school.
Oh, there's one more Big Ten school. It would have been number 1.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it wasn't Michigan, and it wasn't Ohio State.
You didn't say Ohio State.
Oh, I didn't say Ohio State?
Ohio State.
No, I did.
Yeah,
I said them second, I thought.
No,
after
you said Alabama, Georgia to start.
And then I thought I went Ohio State. Okay. Well, there you go.
No, yeah, you got them all. Yeah,
Man,
so
that's
Alabama,
tough.
Georgia, Clemson,
Mississippi,
Ohio State, LSU.
Mississippi State. No, I didn't say
3
Clemson.
times.
See, I didn't say Clemson.
I thought you did say Clemson.
No, I said Ohio State earlier, but I didn't say Clemson. So
I must have mixed them up.
I would have totally forgotten that Clemson was ever good.
There you go. Alabama leads it with 24 times on top of the leaderboard.
Yeah,
Georgia at 15 in second.
Yeah.
Clemson at third with 8 times. Yeah, okay. Tennessee had it 1 time during 2022.
Okay.
So
I know they've been good the last 3 or 4 years. They've been pretty good, but interesting. Okay, that's a good one. Yeah, I wouldn't have thought that. That's tough. All right. Well, next week I'll come up with one.
There you go.
Yeah, we'll get an NFL question next week. So be ready. Get your NFL thinking cap on. You got anything else? Anything else you want to rant about? Are you good?
Nope, I'm all good.
Okay. Well, I want to thank everybody for listening. We'll be back next week. There's more college football. There's more NFL. We'll talk more about the Major League Baseball. The WNBA series won't even be over. They'll have played 2 more games, but there'll be more. We'll talk about all that and more. I want to thank ESPN for what you see on the screen. But anyway, yeah. want to thank everybody for listening. It's been a Brain Rock production, a division of Lonely Tree Media. We'll see you next week.